It was from the pill. I changed all the products, I chucked out everything, but I really am just trying to talk to the girls that are going through it. How much shit that put on me. So I got a therapist. I felt so alone. Wow, okay. I have wanted to make this video for the longest time, and to be quite honest with you, I've been too scared to, and also like just didn't really know how to express, and now it just feels like the right time. I'm not worried about sharing my story anymore, and it's something that I have gotten over the hill from. So it's something that I really want to share because, okay, pause. One, the reason that I want to share this now is because I really hope that there's a girl out there or someone out there who may be going through what I went through, and this video may help them understand, make them feel seen, make them feel less alone. Because when I was going through this whole thing, I felt so alone. I felt like it was only me going through this, and I found a few videos like this that were about going off of the pill, and they were so helpful to me, and they're still people that I follow to this day, and I would like to be that for someone else, just like that sort of light at the end of the tunnel situation. This is a huge disclaimer, by the way, that this is my personal experience. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a physio, I'm not any of that. This is just genuinely what happened to me and how I fixed my health, so please just take what I say as a grain of salt, as an experience from me, and do with it what you will. But again, big disclaimer that I'm not giving you medical advice or anything like that. So let's just get straight into it, straight from the top, and let's talk about it. I've got my comfort water bottle with me, just in case. Basically, I have now been off of the pill for 4 years. It has been a very long and mentally and physically draining situation for me. Before I went off the pill, I was struggling with a few different things, but the main one being painful sex. And to be quite honest, I'm still a little bit uncomfortable talking about this, and I have spoken with my husband. He's very open to me discussing this with you so I can share my story and help other people too. So I'm very grateful that I have a partner that is very loving on board, because if I didn't, I don't think I would have gotten through this situation. 8 years ago, I started to notice that I had extremely painful sex, and also certain ways that I would sit, it was uncomfortable. Tampons were a no-go. I was just in a lot of pain down there, and it was not comfortable. It was very mentally and physically draining. As I said, it was affecting our relationship, and I'm so grateful again that I had John and we were able to talk about it and get help with it. But not to say that it was easy. It was definitely a moment of things that we would argue about, or it was just hard for me to convey how I felt on what was going on. And I had been going to doctors, physios, like you name it, like I was there. I probably, in this whole journey, I probably ended up spending about 5 to 6 grand on my health, just trying to figure out what the fuck was going on, to be quite honest with you. I started with doctors, and I should say that I was on the pill from about 2016. So at this point, I'd probably been on it for like 4 or 5 years. And when I went to the doctors, they said, just change the pill that you're on. So I changed to a different pill. I also had one that said that it was thrush. Like, end of the story, I went to a whole bunch of people and it never got fixed. Nothing ever happened. And one day I broke down and I was so over it. I'm like, there's something wrong and you guys aren't fixing it, so I'm gonna go to someone else and I'm gonna try again. I'm just gonna keep trying until I get the right person, because I know the right person that's gonna help me with this is gonna be there for me. So I went back to the doctors, a different doctor. It's so hot in this room, hold on. I went to a different doctor and she introduced me to something called vaginismus. I'll put a little description up here for you of what that is. I had a little bit of that, but it still wasn't the root cause of why and how I could fix it. So she put me onto a gynecologist called Dr. Peter, and she is the owner of Vera Women's Wellness. I'll put a little thing here. And finally, I found a person that got to the root cause of my issue. I went there, was in Brisbane, so it was about an hour and a bit away, and John came with me to the appointment. I went there, and basically what she told me is it was from the pill. And when I went on the pill, it was just like the normal thing to do, and my mum was on it. Everyone that I knew was on the pill because that's just like what you do, right? I now wish, now that I know in hindsight is a beautiful thing, that I wish I learned a little bit more about what it is and what it was doing, because honestly I didn't know half the side effects, and also I didn't realize that it was taking away my own body's hormone powers, and that it was a fake period. It wasn't actually what was going on in my body. It was just like a bleed that came through from the pill. I didn't know any of that, and I had no knowledge of this, and I really do wish that I looked into that a little bit more. But as I said, I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything was going to happen to me being on the pill. So after like 4 to 5 years of all of those symptoms, I went to this gynecologist, and she basically told me that the pill wasn't working for me, and it had, I've got notes here, sorry, let me just like, so I know what I'm talking about. So it had thinned the entrance of down there because of low estrogen. So my body was not producing enough estrogen, and it was starting to thin out the bottom, and so every time that I would go to have sex, it was like traumatizing down there basically, which you can imagine is painful. So that was the reason why it was thinned out, and I had low estrogen and my body couldn't deal with it basically, and this was all caused from the pill. So with the gynecologist, she said get off the pill immediately. There was a bunch of creams that I needed to take. Well, there was 2 creams, and one was called My Gel, like specifically to put topically down there, as well as something called Olive and Bee, which was just basically to restore the like moisture in that area. And I'm so sorry if this is like TMI, and if this is too much, please click off, but I really am just trying to talk to the girls that are going through it. And the other thing that I had to do was to start seeing a pelvic physio, and she was a really turning point. Like for me, it was like the getting off the pill and all of that, and then it was about really rebuilding my body, rebuilding it physically and mentally. And I didn't know about the mentally factor until a little bit later on. So this was all in 2021, just for a little date backstory. And I had to go and see that pelvic physio weekly for a time, and then we eventually were able to wean to like fortnightly and then a monthly, but I ended up seeing her for 4 months. It was all about the eating anti-inflammatory diet, doing exercises for down there to build back that strength and just like the muscle memory of everything being okay. A lot of mental work already coming into it, a lot of just like relaxing. Like I would have to have a heat pack down there. That's where I began my low light showers to really come back and just be in my body. I actually kept a log on my phone. I'm gonna lean back. I actually kept a log on my phone of me tracking my period and how I got it back, everything that sort of came with this situation. So I'm going to share that with you guys. So on the 10th of September in 2021, I'm going to put them here. I said, today I stopped taking the pill. I'm excited and nervous to see what will happen and the effects it will have on my body. Tomorrow or the next day I should start the fake bleed, which I did not know was fake until after the gyno appointment. And after that's finished, I'll no longer be on the pill ever again. I went to the gyno, and she finally gave me some real information on why I have painful sex, low libido, pain when sitting in certain positions, and even tampons. Her recommendation was to go off the pill as it had stopped giving me the hormones that I need, and it caused my skin to thin out down there and became like an open wound. So the options for me in terms of being like safe was condoms, a Mirena IUD, or a copper IUD, but she obviously recommended the one that was non-hormonal. And for me, I was like, I don't want any shit in my body anymore. I don't want it. I'm over it. I'm not going through this again. And luckily I am with a long-term partner, and now my husband. At this point he wasn't my husband, but I ended up just opting for condoms because I wasn't about to do that shit ever again, and I just felt like it's your time because I've been through it basically. Anyway, we now skip to about 3 days after, and I said I got my period, which was fake, and after this I will be on my own, but I'm going to wear pads for this period until I am healed. The 20th of September, I said my body may have started to notice I'm not taking the pill anymore. Today I'm experiencing a lot of gas and stomach cramps. Not sure if this is going off the pill or anything else. On the 24th of September, so this was only 14 days after, so 2 weeks after I started off the pill, taking the creams, doing all the pelvic floor exercises, I noticed there was a massive win, and I called it a small win in my notes, but for me it was a very massive win. and it was that when I wore jeans, I could specifically notice my pain, especially when I went to go like sit down in the car to go somewhere, or yeah, it was sitting in jeans. It was very, very painful. And I remember I was wearing jeans and I was going to sit in the car, and when I sat down I was in shock because it didn't hurt. And it was the most incredible moment, because after like 5 years I was like, finally some good freaking news for my body, because I was really, really struggling. I honestly still remember sitting in the car and just being like, oh my god, like it doesn't hurt, like oh my god. I was literally crying. And I remember sitting in the car and then going to the restaurant and just being like to mum, like, it doesn't hurt, like I'm not in pain. Again, throughout all these times I was still going to the pelvic physio, working with her through dilators and all different breathing exercises and calming down my nervous system. I was slowly getting back my libido a little bit more. My body wasn't really, I call it producing libido, but I wasn't really feeling libido, because every time I went to, you know, go into it, it was not a bad experience for me, but it was painful. So of course my body's reaction is like, we're not doing that shit no more, like see ya. But my body had to slowly learn that it was okay and it was safe. On the 15th of October, I said no period yet. I was supposed to get it on Tuesday. It's now Friday. Assuming I have a really long cycle, it didn't come back on time as planned, but this is expected. But I do notice that my boobs are hurting a lot. On the 22nd of the 10th, I wrote, I got my period a little later than usual, but this is a natural one. 10 days late, but I am so super proud of my body. I was very lucky that it honestly came back when it did, like a month after. I know girls have struggled like getting it back after a year, or even, yeah, it's long periods of time. So I was very, very grateful that I actually had a short amount of time, even though it was not in the like healthy range of a cycle. At least I was still getting mine. Then we are now at the 3rd of December. Well overdue for my second period since coming off the pill, and I haven't had another since the last one. The 6th of the 12th. Today I got my period. Okay, I'm in so much pain. This really hurts. My back and lower stomach is on fire. And then I kind of kept tracking my periods after that. So, you know, January I got my period. These are really sore cramps. In February I said my period is quite late. My cycle has been gone for 43 days, and I just kept tracking that, and it kept going 40 days. It was always around that 40 to 42 days. And in May so we're now a little bit further into the next year, I said, wow, it's day 36 and I have finally got my period. The last 2 cycles have been 40 to 42 days, and I'm happy to see it's coming back into a normal time frame. I said I'm still on the longer side, but I'm so happy. This month I took into account helpful tips from the Woman Code book by getting rid of harmful chemicals that was in our toothpaste, shampoo and conditioner. And look at that, after changing all of that, my period came back sooner. So this is when I started to be obsessed with cycle syncing, what I was putting into my body, what products were hormone blockers. And I read this book called The Woman Code, and another one that really helped me was also Come Just As You Are. And after reading Woman Code, I learned about the products that we use and that certain ingredients in them are actually hormone blockers. One main one that I constantly remember is sodium lauryl sulfate. It's in so many toothpaste, so much shampoo and conditioner, it's ridiculous. And so I swapped out all of it. I changed all the products. I chucked out everything that had all of that shit in it, and I got my period back faster. So do with that what you will. I've now changed my makeup, my perfumes, everything to no longer have that. So I do not have hormone blockers going into my body. So I continuously started to get my period. Then day 32 it would fluctuate, and sometimes I'd get it like day 40. So it definitely wasn't like I know when my period's coming. It was like, okay, we'll see when it comes this month and go from there. That's pretty much what I did for the end of 2021, all of 2022. I started to have sex again, and it wasn't painful anymore. There was still some times that it did, and I was getting really frustrated again because I was like, this is fixed. And so I started doing my exercises again, which helped. It was a very, very long like learning process, to be quite honest. And then in May of 2023, I remember it so specifically, I had a full breakdown because it was hurting again, and I was like, what the fuck now? Because I'm not on the pill, so what is happening? And I said, I think it's mental. I think it's really taken a toll on me mentally, this whole situation, and I was dealing with the whole physical side of things and getting that on board, and now my mental state was catching up with me about how much shit that put on me in terms of guilt, the guilt that I felt for myself, also for John. I hated that he would have that experience with me. I was disappointed in myself, like why would my body do that? And like the mental load of every time I went to go and be intimate, I was scared or felt like, oh my god, is this gonna hurt? I hope this doesn't hurt. Like it was always just like the mental thing, and of course going into a situation like that with that kind of mentality isn't gonna help. So I realized that I needed professional help. So I got a therapist again from Vera's Women's Wellness. Oh, I forgot to say, sorry, my pelvic physio, her name was Dr. Angie, and she worked at Vera's Women's Wellness, but she also had a clinic in Noosa, which is the one that I ended up going to, called Breathe Health, which was her own business. Anyway, so I ended up seeing a therapist from Vera's Women's Wellness, and her name was Dr. Nicole, and I started seeing her for about 3 months, I want to say. We would do fortnightly sessions, and we just spoke about everything. I just told her everything that happened, and she introduced me to the book of Come As You Are, and that's all about brakes and accelerators with your libido. It was more so about the mental state of me and trying to break down those barriers, and also let John in on the conversation too, to be able to like tell him what I was feeling, because it was so hard. Like he could see it obviously externally, but I never really shared like the internal thoughts of the guilt and just the shit that I was putting my mental state through. And so it was really nice having a therapist. And after that whole situation, like after I had finished the 3 months with her, I was so much better, and I would have to train my brain and be like, my anxiety and my safety thing would come up, and I'd have to be like, I'm okay, I'm safe, John's got me, we're good. And it was slowly just the training of my mental and my physical to get back. And I am now in 2025, January 2025, and I'm finally able to sit, not in pain, wear tampons, and not have painful sex. And sometimes I have some painful moments, and that's okay, and I kind of work through the things that I've learned and all of the tools that I now have in my toolbox. But it took me a long time to get here. So yeah, I was experiencing the pain before I got to these resolutions 5 years prior, and then when I stopped going off the pill, I've now been off the pill for 4 years. So it has been a huge long journey for me, and maybe now this clarifies to people why I'm into cycle syncing and being in low tox products and all of that. And this is the reason why, and I've never shared it before, but I just felt like it was time, and I just want to help other women that may be going through this, or maybe going through something health wise, and maybe they don't realize that it could have been the pill. God, that feels freeing. Even just talking about it, like I haven't even posted this yet, but talking about it is really, really nice. And I am so grateful that I had John through this, because I couldn't even imagine going through this with like a partner that wasn't supportive. Like John, towards the end, when we were just dating at the time, but he went half in on all of my appointments, money wise, took me to Brisbane to do the appointments, and was so understanding in the most way that he could. I never told anyone in my life besides like my mum and my sister. And yeah, even if you aren't having health problems, I recommend looking into cycle syncing and learning. The biggest thing for me was this whole process. I was able to learn about the 4 phases that we go through and everything that we do as women, and I just think we're freaking incredible, and I wish more people knew about it, because I had no idea about phases. I didn't know anything, to be quite honest with you. So it was really nice for me to be able to learn about myself and my body. I'm just rambling now at this point, because I'm like, I just really hope this helps, and I'm really proud of myself for opening up about this, because this is something that I've struggled and have never spoken about before, and now maybe it makes sense. That's the end of this video. If you have any questions, anything you want to talk about at all, my DMs are open on Instagram, or you can comment below. But if you want it privately, please message me. I would love to talk to you, maybe more in depth if you have any more questions, or if there's anything that you are struggling with. I'm here to help you not feel alone, because yeah, I just felt so alone through that whole process. I hope you can see that I'm out on the other side, and I get to speak about it now, and I'm doing good. Have the best day, the best week. Love you guys so much and all of your support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.